overall levels of happiness increasing, and just there were so many benefits from writing in a gratitude journal. And so I thought to myself, I should try this. I will put this into my life. And so I just started to write every night. The last thing I did before going to bed was write down 3 things I was grateful for. And I didn't notice an immediate result, for sure, but after a while of doing this on a daily basis, I noticed that my overall mood, and I like to call my default setting, so that's like if I wasn't really happy or if I wasn't really sad, my natural set point of my mood just started to elevate, and I just became a little overall happier. I also noticed that in just random situations, very, very frequently, and then it became all the time, I would start to notice the good in things, and that would be my first response rather than being negative. And years ago when I was struggling with anorexia, I studied a little bit about the brain. I read a few books about the mind because I thought, this problem exists in my brain. I need to learn about my brain so I can beat this problem. And I found mine so fascinating because all these certain attributes that I used to just consider things that you're either kind of born with or you're not, like positivity, like patience, like so many things in our life, like being outgoing, all of this. It's like, oh my gosh, these are actually, they probably come more naturally to some people than others, but these are things you can learn and you can teach yourself. And what happens in our mind is we have these neural pathways that lead to different thought patterns. And the more you use a specific neural pathway, the stronger it gets. The same way like working out, the more you use a specific muscle, the stronger it gets. And what happens is actual tissue wraps around that neural pathway. It's called myelin, and it makes it go from being like a little dirt road into being a highway in your mind. And so, for example, in my mind, a dirt road is juggling. I don't really juggle, and if I tried, it would be very, the pathways would be firing very slow, so it's like a car bumping along a dirt road. However, violining is a highway in my mind. It knows exactly what to do. It fires super fast because I've practiced it, and I've exercised that neural pathway so strongly. And so, similarly, if you think about your mind, is your mind full of dirt pathways that lead to laughter and highways that lead to pessimism and negativity and feeling sorry for ourselves? And so I think that's what had happened in my mind. And by writing in a gratitude journal every single night, it's like I was exercising and firing that neural pathway, and every time a little bit more myelin was wrapping around it until eventually the pathway that led to positivity and gratitude and optimism, that eventually became stronger and more developed than the pathway that led to negativity and feeling sorry for myself. And so that became my automatic response. When a situation happened, instead of using the negative pathway, it used the positive one. And so yeah, we cannot always control the automatic responses in the moment. We actually, we can't. They'll happen, they'll fire off, and it will use the path of least resistance. And so it's our job to exercise our minds in the way that we want to and strengthen them so that the automatic responses become the ones that we choose. And I hope you guys use these gratitude journals because it's the most simple thing that I have ever done in my life that's had the most profound change on my happiness. And I've found over and over again that the lens through which I view my life has so much more to do with my happiness level than the experiences that I'm actually having. And so if I view my life through a lens of gratitude, I will see so much to be grateful for. I will see so many examples of how blessed and lucky and happy my life is. However, if I view my life through a lens of feeling like the world is out to get me and that I'm just really unfortunate, then I will see plenty of examples of that in the same exact scenario. And so it's up to us to choose which lens we want to view our lives through. And that can change everything. So anyways, I hope you guys use these. Just 3 things you're grateful for every night. Last thing you do before you go to bed. I still have one next to my bunk in my bus, and I still do it every day to this day. So there you go. Hope you enjoy those. And also, on that note, do you guys have any questions? I'd like to do a question and answer. Yeah.
Are you planning to continue the Heart of This comic?
You know, I always planned it to be 6 issues. I mean, when I first made the story, I kind of made a beginning, middle, end, and then I tracked it across like what would make up 6 issues and then wrote it. So I always intended on being 6, but I've been asked that a lot, and so I do think I will possibly in the future, like not anytime immediate, but possibly in the future I will expand upon it and see where that goes. Because it was a lot of fun working on it. It honestly was like kind of my saving grace through the pandemic to have that story to work on, you know, when I was stuck inside. Yes. Let's see, well, doing what I do now and violining, they're almost like 2 separate moments. Like I played the violin since I was 6, but getting into the way I play now and the kind of music I play and dancing and all of that, that happened when I was in my early 20s. And I was, well, I guess it was even before that. I was in my late teens. I was about to go to college to study to be a performance major in classical violin, because I'd been trained as a classical violinist since I was 6. And I just remember being very aware as I was kind of looking forward at my possible path, thinking, oh my gosh, I don't like this anymore. I don't like the violin. Oh my gosh, when did that happen? Like, this is such a huge part of my identity, and it made me very sad, because I was always Lindsey, and I played the violin. That was just a huge part of who I was, and so I was like, well, should I quit? You know, is this the end of the road for me? And I decided not to quit, but I decided I was going to switch majors, so I ended up being a film major. And the violin just became, I was like, I have to make this fun. And so I started to write music. I started to play with different bands. I did everything from, I joined a country band for a little bit, was a fiddle player. I would go to open mic nights, and musicians I liked, I'd give them my number and say, if you ever need a violinist, like, call me. So I just started to make the violin all about creativity and fun. And that's kind of what led me to my passion again, which was, oh my gosh, I do love the violin. I just needed to figure out a way to make the violin fit me, rather than what I'd been doing before, was I was trying to make me fit into the mold of what the violin was supposed to be. And that's kind of when everything changed for me, and that's when I started to write music, and it kind of was like, oh, I discovered my passion again, but even more so than I'd ever felt it before. Yeah. Ooh, good question. I find inspiration from all sorts of different places, and you know, whenever I'm really feeling like a writer's block, when I feel like, oh gosh, I can't think of anything, or nothing good is coming out, that's a good sign for me to switch my inspiration up, because I've had inspiration come from everything from my own life experiences, like that's where Shatter Me came from, and many of my other, you know, many other songs, The Arena and Lost Girls, like so many of them came from my own experiences, but I put them into fictional characters, you know, like, oh, let's make my story about a ballerina now who's stuck in a music globe. And so that's always really fun for me to think of, how can I characterize and then musicify my own experiences. And then sometimes it's like, my Brave Enough album was very much so inspired by the book Daring Greatly from Brene Brown. I just learned so much from this book. It inspired me so much, changed my life. And so a lot of the things that I learned from that book, I put into the music for the Brave Enough album. You know, but it always switches up. And then for the Artemis album, it was all inspired by this comic book story that I was writing. And it was really fun to then take these characters and their experiences in the world and put those into songs. So I like to switch it up, otherwise I kind of experience a lot of writer's block if I'm not trying to draw from different things. Yeah. I do. My favorite music video is the Round Table Rival, which I was like, you're gonna love that because I see your outfit. Yeah, that will probably always be one of my favorites. That was just a special, like, a good time. Yeah.
Do you still want to go to the moon?
Do I still want to go to the moon? Oh gosh, I think I'd be too afraid. If I had the opportunity to go into space, I would probably say no. But I do love the moon. I obviously am very inspired by the moon. Yeah.
I've always been impressed with your acting. Have you ever considered becoming an actor?
You know what? I'm really good at acting if I'm just like kind of pantomiming, you know, or like using my face. being lost in a mystical forest. I'm actually not that great at it if you give me words to say. If I have to speak, all of a sudden it's like, why is this so hard? Why can't I just talk like a normal person? But I mean, still, it's something kind of fun. Every once in a while I do auditions, and we'll see if it leads somewhere, but it's like a little side thing. Maybe someday. For now, I'll just keep being lost in the forest with my music videos. Yeah.
When you haven't played a song in a while, do you ever just like play it to like jog your memory and like, oh, that's how it goes? Or do you have it like committed, most of your songs committed to memory?
Oh, all the time. Especially, you'd be surprised how fast it all goes away. You know, it's like this is our 31st tour date of this tour, and yet, in a few months, I'll be like, how did that song start? You know, and especially if I haven't played it in a couple of years. Like sometimes people will, like when I Twitch stream, they'll request certain songs from like albums ago that I haven't played since I recorded them on the album. And I'm just like, I don't remember. How does that go? Yes, I wrote it, but I haven't played it in 4 years, you know. So yeah, oftentimes it does. They go away. Yeah.
Will you ever play ZZ's Journey live?
You know what? We loved playing ZZ's Journey live. Again, that's one I'd have to like remember. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think about like. So it's like, yes, I do remember that one. But I like have to like kind of think about it in a second. But maybe we will, because that one was really fun to play live. It was like a little happy dubstep song. Yeah.
Out of all your music videos, what was your favorite violin to play on? Because in every single video, they're different.
Let's see, what's my favorite violin to play on? I'm not sure. You know, I mean, I love the crossbow violin. I just think that one's one of the most unique ones I've ever had. And, you know, it was custom made just for the Artemis story. So that's probably one of my coolest violins. And you'd be surprised that a lot of the violins that you see in music videos that are very, like, specific and very custom made that you never see again, they're made out of paper. So, like, they may look really fantastic and cool on screen, but it's like, for example, I'm trying to think, the last time I did it in the, the prison music video, like all violin girls had their own colorful, crazy-looking violin. I just went to Michael's and got paper and, like, taped it to the violin perfectly and put sparkles on it. Like, it was like a little craft project that you do in, like, 6th grade. So that is how, and same with the, League of Legends video, everyone was like, that violin is so sick, because it would look like the weapon of one of the characters. Yeah, paper. Yeah. How do I come up with all my outfits? Well, since I was really little, I always loved to sew. Like, my mom taught me to sew when I was a kid, and like, up through high school, like I made my Halloween costumes every year from the time I was like 8 years old. And then I made my prom dresses for high school. I even made my best friend's wedding dress. So like,
Has she been in your TV shows?
Oh, my favorite Halloween costume, hands down, was the kangaroo. It was the first one I ever made, and it was like really cute because people could tell it was homemade. You know, like the edges weren't sewn under, but it was like still kind of impressive for like an 8-year-old. So it was like that medium between like everybody could tell I made it. And like, did you make this? And I was tripping over my kangaroo feet all night, but it was pretty cool because I could put the candy in the pouch. That was the whole reason, of course. But anyway, so I get my inspiration from I've always loved fashion and design, and I still am very, very hands-on with the creation of the costumes you see on stage and even in music videos. I just find it very fun to do that part of the process. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? The bus really has become a home for me. You know, traveling a lot. I think it's very difficult for us all to do tours, more so when we're flying every day in places like South America where it's too far to bus. But we love our tour bus. You know, that really is our little home on wheels, and it's like summer camp. Every night we all like sit in the bus and we watch, you know, Ted Lasso's our show right now, which is so good if you haven't seen it. So I think it's just doing, it's traditions. It's the fact that, oh, barbecues. We have a barbecue under the bus. Oh, hi, we're doing a stream today, so the stream is going to join us for just a second. Hi, funny. Look how high tech my stream rig is, by the way. Can we just know? Yeah. So hi, welcome. But yeah, I would say barbecues is a really fun tradition on this tour for the past few tours. It's something we actually picked up from Evanescence. That we were like, we want to make this a part of our tour family tradition. So we, the guys get super into it. We recently upgraded to a smoker, and they like stand up all day and they grill, guard the meat. It's really fun. So yeah, that's a thing for us for sure. Yeah.
Are you planning to make any more Lindsey time videos? Like, 'cause I miss like seeing the behind the scenes and everything of tour life. And I guess another quick question is, you seen Felba around? Like, I haven't seen her around in a while. Like, she doing
Felba. Yeah, you know, it's high time Felba come back. I think I was too harsh on her before. Felba, if you're out there in the trees, you're welcome to come back. We do need to have Felba come back soon. And then as far as, sorry, what was the other question?
Lindsey time videos.
Lindsey
like,
time.
will you be making any like ones on future tours? Like, 'cause I like seeing the behind the scenes and like.
Yeah, you know, we've started to do a lot more on like TikTok, which has been a lot of fun, and which is, I know it's not quite the same as Lindsey time used to be, but we've enjoyed doing the TikTok stuff. It kind of shows a little bit of tour life, and also Twitch streaming. This is a Twitch stream, and I really enjoy bringing that into, like, we sometimes show it's like backstage, and it's been a fun way to bring people into my life. Without the huge, like Lindsey time was such a huge time commitment. I would edit all the videos, I'd plan them all, and run to the dollar store to get all the stuff to, like, you know, do all the things. So that's why that stopped, but it sure was a lot of fun. And I sometimes I'm like, man, I miss doing those videos because they're like a little time capsule of all the memories. And, you know, yes.
Do you have any collaborations coming up with other artists that you can tell us about?
Yes. I was like, do you want to? I do, but then again, I can't tell you about them. They never, you know, you're always supposed to not tell until the artist tells. But I do have a couple collaborations planned, and they're ones that I know that, you know, I think the fan community will be very, very excited about. So, yeah, they'll be coming out around Christmas. Just say that. Yes.
Is it hard to play the violin while you're dancing?
It is. It's very hard to play violin while dancing. And to be honest, I didn't start dancing and playing the violin until I was about 23. Because I didn't really have the idea much until then. But, and it was kind of nice because it allowed me to get a really strong foundation of really knowing my violin well and really having the ability to play very proficiently. And then adding the dance to it was like a very slow process. And still, it takes a ton of practice and a ton of work, especially after I've been on tour for a while, and then I take some time off from the dancing, and then I have to get shaped for another tour. It's always like, oh my gosh, how did I do this last tour? Like, every time, I'm like, this is freaking impossible, and I just sit there in my little, you know, I have this little kitchen area that I clear out, and that's my, like, dance practice space. And I just will spend a lot of time in there practicing before every tour by myself, before I go to rehearse with my dancers, so I don't embarrass myself. I want them to think I'm pro. Yeah.
As a creative person yourself, how do you feel about cosplayers recreating your designs?
Oh, I love it. I think that's one of the most complimentary things when someone comes to a show dressed in something that's inspired by a costume that I created. I mean, I think that's so cool. Same with like when people do covers of my songs. I'm like, that's so cool. That's something that, you know, that I loved and that I created, and they've now made it their own. So I find it a huge compliment. Yeah.
So I don't like how you see music as a way to make a contribution to the world, but music is the means to that contribution. What would you say is what you'd like to be your contribution to the world?
What would I like my contribution to the world to be? Yeah, I mean, I always hope that when someone leaves a show, that they feel really inspired that they can do the things they want to do in life. That they realize that they're amazing. And like, I hope people walk out the door after the show, you know, not only being entertained, but just being like, I'm awesome. And I can do the things I want to do in my life. Like, if that girl up there on the stage playing the violin could do it, then I could do it. Like, that's really my hope after every show. And, you know, that's what I hope in general my art does for people. Oh, amazing. You're my girl. Yeah.
Where
Where's your favorite place been to travel to, and what about it did you like the most?
My favorite place to travel to, it might be New Zealand. It was just absolutely gorgeous, and there's so much outdoor recreation to be done. Like, I think a lot of times on tour we end up in the middle of the big city, and in New Zealand, like, we got to go out and go exploring through caves, and, you know, I don't know, I just think it's so beautiful. If I could go back anywhere that I've toured, it would probably be there. Yes? Good question. My music video, The Arena, what is it trying to say? So that, again, was also very much inspired by Brene Brown's book. She starts the book out with a quote called The Man in the Arena. And it's a quote from Theodore Roosevelt that I would butcher if I tried to say it, but it's basically saying that it's not the critic who counts. The only credit goes to the man who's actually in the arena. The one who's falling down, who's dirty, who's getting scraped up, and who's like getting up time and time again to keep fighting. Like, who's someone in the stands to point and say, ha ha ha, like, what? The credit doesn't go to the person watching the credit, and the only opinion that counts is the one who's in the arena fighting the fight. And so it's like, so often we all get pulled down by critics, people saying that we're not good enough, mean comments online, bullies, whatever, that may tell us that we can't do what we want to do, we're not good enough, we're smart enough, we're pretty enough, or whatever. But it's like, who are they to say that? They don't know what you have inside of you. They don't know what you could become. They don't know how hard you're willing to work. And so I just have always loved that quote. It's a quote that I highly recommend everybody print out and put it on your bathroom mirror, because it's the ultimate quote of the fighter within all of us. And by fighter, I mean just that grit, that spirit of resilience that makes us not give up. Because the person that succeeds isn't the person that never fell down. The person that succeeds is the one that fell down over and over and over again. But they just decided every time that they were going to get up. And so that's what that music video is about. Yeah.
So kind of expanding on that, so like when you were first starting to like become famous and you were on I think America's Got Talent, how did you just keep yourself going? How did you give yourself the motivation to keep going like after you were told?
Yeah. Yes. Well, you know, it's funny. America's Got Talent was very much so like my first step into the spotlight. You know, so it wasn't like I had a following and then I went on to AGT. It was very much like I'd been trying to like do different things. So it wasn't the beginning of my journey, but it was the first public step in my journey where anyone knew I existed. And so it was pretty defeating to step onto that stage in front of millions of people and then to be told that I, you know, in a huge way wasn't good enough. And, you know, it was quite humiliating, to say the least. You know, I got told not only that I wasn't good enough, they made fun of me on national TV, and they were cruel. And that's not going to make anybody feel okay, but now looking back at it, it's fine. It's not even painful to talk about anymore. It's actually kind of hilarious. Because it's an important part of my story, and I'm grateful for it. It was a moment that I almost did quit, and I thought to myself, that was so humiliating. I could never step on stage again after that. And I even had like stage PTSD after that. I'd be like about ready to go on a little performance and I'd like almost hear the buzzer because it was just so. But there's something inside of us all. There's like a moral compass that's all of us. And then you can look at it as your gut. You can look at it as your intuition or God guiding you or the spirit. I like to see it as a combination of all those things. But I just couldn't deny that I felt this voice telling me that like your time isn't up yet. Your journey isn't done. Keep pushing forward because there is more for you in this area. Because sometimes it is okay to trust your gut and say, this isn't for me. Like there's no shame in that. But if you're going down a road and you quit when your gut is telling you that there is more, that's when you've really missed out. And so there have been times when I have shut the door, said that's not for me, and I'm done with that. But I'm so grateful that I listened to my gut in that moment and like what I consider like my guidance from my Heavenly Father to say, okay, I'm going to keep moving forward. And sometimes like I read this amazing book. It's called Think and Grow Rich. I really like reading like books about improving the mind and self-help and all of that. And this book is about manifesting. And this guy talked like about 2 chapters about how the most successful people in life, they're the ones that can get past that last hump. Like usually right before you're about to succeed, there's almost like one last big trial that takes you to the point where you're like, I don't think I can literally go any further. And that's when 90% of people will stop. And it's that like 1 to 10% that pass over that last huge hurdle. And that's why the people that succeed are the outliers. And so, trusting that inner voice and going past that last huge hurdle is what changed everything for me. It gave me the grit I needed to keep going through this industry and taught me a lot about self-resilience. And I think I needed that test in order to be able to still be standing here today. Yeah. Yeah, the Roundtable Rival music video. I was just in a writing session with, it was just me and a guy playing the guitar. And we were just jamming, and then he's like, all of a sudden, started messing around with this riff. And we're like, that's kind of cool, and so we recorded that. And then it progressed, and then I stopped him, I'm like, this is a song about a guitar slinging outlaw in a western town. And he's coming in to try to take over my town. I'm going to defend it with violins. So it all kind of happened off of that. It just like kind of sparked a story in my mind, and so we finished the song knowing exactly what we were writing about. It was a lot of fun. All right, just a few more questions. Yeah. Who's my favorite comic book character in like all comic books?
That's a very dangerous question.
I mean, I'm a huge Marvel Avengers fan. So as of now, I'm gonna have to say, I mean Iron Man, but that's probably because he's played by Robert Downey Jr. And so I'm completely biased because of that. But that's fine. Yeah. Do I have birthday plans? I'm taking one of my best friends really wanted to go to the John Legend concert. So on my birthday, I'm taking her to the John Legend concert. But I'm excited. I love John Legend. Yes. Oh, here, we'll go here and then there. Sorry. I do. I actually have, I think, 2 that are already filmed that just haven't been released yet. So yes. You know, I do love anime. I've always loved it, and it's funny because when I was young, I didn't even know that anime, I just loved the art of it. I didn't really know that it was, like, I wasn't really super into like the comic book or the anime world at all. I just knew I loved the art style so much. And, but I mean, I think the first one I saw was Spirited Away, and that wasn't until I was like, 20 years old. And I was like, whoa, this is so beautiful. And so when I did start to write a comic book, I was very, very bold about it has to be anime. I was like, I don't want to do a Western art style. I was like, I really want to be anime. And I even found Japanese artists because I was like, I wanted to be like true anime. So yes, I do love it. Yes.
Do you still watch that thing you do while you're on tour?
We watch it probably every tour still. Yeah, my band and I love That Thing You Do, and we watch it usually once a tour. It's our, and actually, probably like 2 years ago now, we were in the airport, and I don't even remember the actor's name, but Guy Patterson, the drummer from that, Tom Everett Scott, thank you, Drew. He was on our flight, and we were all kind of freaking out. Like, Drew came back from going to the bathroom, and he whispered in my ear, he's like, he's on our flight. We have to say hi. We kept walking, I was like, what? And then he came back there, and he's like 3 rows behind you. So anyways, we got off the flight, we cornered him at baggage claim, and we're like, hi, we're big fans, and you inspired him a lot. But we didn't take a picture. One of my bigger regrets in life. He was so nice. Anyways, I think they're telling me we're about out of time. They gotta start letting people in, but thank you so much for coming to our meet and greet experience, you guys.